Michael Saylor, I have one question, and it pertains to when I'm talking to normies about Bitcoin. Before I can really explain the value proposition, they're so fast to say, it's 100K, I missed the boat, I'll never get a Bitcoin, etc., etc. Do you have one very simple answer for normies about the value proposition of Bitcoin?
So we're dealing with three concepts: risk, volatility, and performance.
Gotcha.
Once you understand that risk of being in that frame of reference, then you have to figure out what's the source of the volatility and the performance. And if you don't understand why the asset does what it does, if you don't understand the economic physics involved, then you'll think it's random, and you'll feel like the performance is risky. But I want to give you an example of a physical metaphor.
Okay.
I'm a hiker, and I come across a mountain lake, and the mountain lake has 500 trillion gallons of water in it. And I don't know how it got there, but it's there. The water's chilly, it's clear. And I look down, and there's a waterfall coming off the mountain lake. And the waterfall, it's very beautiful. And it's very turbulent, right? Water is turbulent in a waterfall. Water is not turbulent in a glassy lake. So the turbulence is volatility, right? And there's waterfall. And then I look at it, and now if you look and you say, I don't know why that water falls downhill. I don't know if it'll keep falling downhill, right? But I hate the volatility. Then I guess you can take a selfie in front of the lake, go swimming, get cold, and leave. Yeah. But let's say you're not a tourist, but you're an engineer. So you come across the same lake, and you see the waterfall, and you see the 500 trillion gallons, and you think about gravity, and you think about sunlight. And now I know how the water got there. The water got there because the sun shone on the ocean. The water evaporated from the ocean. It rose up in the clouds. The wind blew it against the mountain. It condensed, and it rained into the mountain, and the water ran off the mountain into the mountain lake. I know how it got there. Okay. And then I think, well, if I create a dam near that waterfall, I build myself a dam. I put a turbine on the dam. And then I drop 1 billion gallons of water. I channel 1 billion gallons of water through the dam, drop it 60 feet. Okay. And then I plug that into a hydroelectric power plant. I spin the dynamo. I make electricity. And then if I'm really smart, I run the electric power line to a village down in the valley, and I light up the village, or I light up the city. Now, someone can come along that doesn't understand physics, and they can say, good idea, Junior, but what are you going to do when the water stops flowing downhill?
That's a good question.
Well, I'm like, I actually think the water's flowing downhill because of gravity. Newton solved that for me. And then someone else comes along and says, good idea, Junior, but what are you going to do when you run out of water in the lake? I'm like, well, there's 500 trillion gallons, and I take out my calculator, and 1 billion gallons or whatever, it's going to last a long time. Like, well, it's eventually going to run out. I say, well, the sun keeps shining on the ocean, and the ocean keeps lifting the water out of the ocean, and it drops it on this mountain, and that's why there's water in the mountain. But you're right, there's some kind of natural limit, and I suppose there's a limit to the amount of energy I can pull off of this dam, but it's a large number. It's a lot more than your donkey cart, and it's a lot more than your steam, wood stove, and it's a lot more than your coal power plant. And maybe it's a lot cleaner than burning, gasoline. So I'm an engineer, and you're seeing performance thinking it's random, and that's why it's going to stop. And you're seeing volatility, and you're thinking it's random, and maybe it'll stop. And here with Bitcoin, the reason Bitcoin's performing is A, it's volatile, but B, it's a more energy efficient state. The water is flowing down 5,000 feet because it's a lower energy state 1,000 feet below the mountain. It's a lower energy state. You've got potential energy in the water, and it wants to go to ground, and that's just physics. The 500 trillion gallons of water is $500 trillion. And the $500 trillion of assets are sitting in real estate and currency and sovereign bonds and corporate bonds and artwork and equity. And they're invested in the stock of a company in Africa. That's going bankrupt. Right? They're invested in real estate in Cuba, in Venezuela, in Nigeria. They're sitting in a warehouse that's crumbling. It's got a 40-year life.
Okay.
And so entropy and inflation.
Yeah.
You invested $100 billion in a war zone, and then a war broke out, and your money got your asset got devalued.
Right.
All of the things going on in the world, the war, the chaos, the competition, the inflation, the entropy, the passage of time, the hurricane, the COVID, vaccine, the COVID virus, all of these things impaired the value of your assets. The reason Bitcoin is going up, it's not an accident.
Okay.
It's because capital is economic mass. Right. It is flowing from a high energy state, the mountaintop, to a lower energy state, to a more efficient state.
Right.
It is steam condensing to water, condensing to ice, giving off energy, just like in any chemistry lab, you would learn this. And at the same time, there's this volatility driver, which is you have an open capital market, and on Saturday night, when there's a missile crisis, someone can make a $10 billion short bet, levered up 100 to 1, and panic.
Thanks.
And they can do it in Bitcoin. And then on Sunday morning, when the missile crisis has passed and nuclear war did not break out, they can go long and they can reverse the trade. And Bitcoin's the only asset where you can sell $1 billion of it in a minute at 100 to 1 leverage, and you can buy $1 billion back in a minute with 100 to 1 leverage on Saturday night and Sunday morning.
Okay.
If you could do that with your Upper East Side apartment, then property values in the Upper East Side would also be more volatile. And if you could do it with Picasso's, that would be more volatile. Okay. Because if people get drunk and they panic and they short your asset 100 to 1 and change their mind 6 hours later when they get up with the hangover, you're going to have volatility. So the volatility is a feature. It's not a bug. It's because it's the most useful thing in the world from a capital market point of view. And if it is that useful, then a Bloomberg jockey in Singapore is going to raise $20 billion in capital, and they're going to make it available for you to trade one Saturday night, or they're going to make $10 billion of credit available to you on Sunday morning, because they're getting paid an obscene fee to do it. And once you understand the asset's appreciating because it is thermodynamically sound and it represents a lower, more efficient energy state for capital or for money. And once you understand it's volatile because the network is more useful and more leverageable, it is basically the number one. It is the number one source of credit or leverage in the world for everybody all the time. And once you understand it like that, you see the volatility and the performance are a feature of the engineering and the technology. They're not a happenstance. They're not accidental. They're going to continue in the same way that water will flow downhill. And, just like the normie that sees a fire and it's like, I'm going to harness the fire and I'm going to sell it. And the normie goes, well, what if the fire goes out? And the engineer goes, I'm actually going to create a machine, an internal combustion engine with 8 cylinders, and the fire's not going to go out. And don't you see how the 6-year-old Boy Scout, like the fire goes out, and then Henry Ford creates a machine such that the fire doesn't go out? And when you get on a jet airplane and fly across the Atlantic for 12 hours, do you realize that your life depends upon the fire not going out in the jet engine, and you're surely dead?
I actually never thought about that. You will
freeze to death before you happen to suffocate. Should that fire go out. And engineers solve that problem for you. And so the difference between fear and risk and anxiety and competence and commitment is understanding the physics and the engineering of the money involved.
Wow. That is an unbelievable explanation to the question. I'm not even sure what the question was. How do people catch up and find what Michael Saylor is doing these days?
I post everything every day on X. Saylor, Saylor. And so if you want to follow me on Saylor. And my personal website is michael.com. And I post a lot of my personal
Just
speeches
Michael?
on that. Just michael.com.
Okay.
Bitcoin, crypto, morning tea. Hey. Holy smokes. I remember watching that video yesterday. I'm like, is this for real? Is this like, that was an uncut. Like, I didn't make any edits in it. That was just Michael Saylor rambling. And it was funny because that yesterday I was saying I was a little worried about Michael Saylor. You know, he's got a lot on his shoulders here, you know, being the resident GIGACHAD of this bull market. He's basically, you know, started the bull market and he's continuing it with his perpetual bid for Bitcoin. But man, that was quite possibly the longest, weirdest rambling. Like, he uses a lot of metaphors, and I get it because he was a musician. And musicians usually instantly go into a metaphor when trying to explain anything. But holy smokes, that was one of the weirdest ones I've ever seen. Would you Lord love a duck? Look at this. We talked about this. We talked about everything that happened yesterday. Yesterday we said we would find our first resistance, our Headwindian resistance, right at our channel of ascensions. Support now acting as resistance. So look at this, the wick, ting. See, and then we immediately got rejected all the way down. But remember, we said we're probably going to the 20 moving average is the coast, and the price action is the cruise ship. We're probably going to go touch base at the coast, and if she's so darn tooting, we would throw a wick down to our new level of support, which was the 61.8% fib that I go on ad nauseum about, this goldenest of golden ratios. It's what the market loves to do, especially the 4-hour chart. And threw a little 30-year-old drunken birthday girl crying dancer right underneath it, and boom, we kind of got the support we need. There's Michael Saylor. Thank you for the interview yesterday. And here we are trying to get back over that 20 moving average now. Sneaky Pete, the world's longest analogy. You know what I think it was? Speaking of hangover, I've kind of felt like he was hungover, because he was just in a rambling type of mood. And even though he usually has good analogies, like he makes me panic buy Bitcoin all the time. But that one got off track. It got a little off track. It started out, I'm a hiker, right? And there's a waterfall. He was just kind of riffing on his own. He didn't know what being like a live streaming flow artist of sorts, if you want to call that what this is. Sometimes you start talking and you're a passenger in your own dialogue. You don't really know what you're saying or where you're going. And I think that's what happened with him. And you can see him sometimes go like he was panicking. Like he woke up from his hangover. He actually fell asleep within his hangover and woke up. Was like, oh, where am I? Oh, I'm in Nigeria. Oh, yeah, and COVID vaccines, and he did everything. He did absolutely everything under the sun in about 6 minutes. And where did he get? Yeah, nowhere really. My takeaway from the whole interview was I wasn't sure what the hell he was getting at. And normally he's crystal clear. Normally He's crystal clear. So here we are trying to get over this 20 moving average. And I drew this as the 20 moving. I guess we'll pull her down here to make her a little more. And we'd probably revisit it around the 32.8% fib. And that's where we crossed her. This is just how the market works. This is it. This is it. There's no real rhyme or reason to go. We have buyers and sellers, and they all fluctuate around the fibs and the supports. Now, one thing's for sure, what I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong if you felt this, or maybe it's just Johnny December. Thank you for a member for 16 months, Johnny. Wow. Take a look at that. Yeah. Thank you, Johnny. 16 months. A year and 4 months. Unbelievable. Thank you. Thank you for the support. As you know, a small channel like this, the only way the lights are kept on is with memberships. Because obviously YouTube doesn't pay a goddamn thing. And here we are. So our next level of resistance would be the 23.6% fib. Will we get there today? Oh yeah, this was what I was getting at. Even though we're at all-time highs, like we're very high. We're over 100K. And there's almost zero retail. And now, did we miss the retail boat? And what I mean by that is that did the price go up so fast that retail's head spinning and they're just like, I missed it. And they think they're out of the game. It's a very possible scenario because the law of large numbers can diminish an entry. Like if you get into the mind of a newbie. You're like, yeah, buy Bitcoin? Sure, because that's, when people are told buy Bitcoin, sneaky pain vaporizers, a one-way countdown till Christmas. Last. See, I'm trying to do an A over G. Last Christmas. There it is. Last Christmas, you gave me your God. The very next day, I got phantom text. This time, to save you from mewing, I'll give it to somebody Sigma. Ho, 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 hey-o. Well, that took longer than I thought it would be. Thank you very much for the super chat, Sneaky Pete. Back to the retail. So now, did retail miss the boat? And is it our fault? When I say us, it's like we're in the boat, right? Our bags are packed. We're all cozy, waiting for this bull run. Every day is a spectacular day. But the people that missed out, well, they're probably like, well, where do I get on 100K Bitcoin? Like, why would I put $1 into a $100,000 asset? Because they don't know, right? And what I'm worried about is that this could be the handoff from the people's money to institutional money. And then they just run off like all power structures do. They see the potential. Hello, Duke Duck. They go for it. Like I said a million times, they're not coming for some. They're coming for all. And they grab it and they run away with it. Now, lucky for us, we are in the boat already. Our bags are packed. But it does leave 98% of the human race. It's hard to fathom because we've been in here for so long. Our souls are gone. They've escaped. We're cold as ice. But we're really only 2% of the population that, A, have exposure to it, and B, even really know about it. What I've seen in the past little while is people's attention click on to the price, the shiny price number go up. Holy smokes. Blah, 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 and immediately capitulate out and this, like they'll say something like we're going back to the squash club, older guys who, you know, I've been talking about, Squatchy J. I learned that from Duke. He did that for his school. They'll come up and say, yeah, you know, it's interesting how well Bitcoin's done. I remember you telling us, you know, good for you. That's it. And they're out. It's like a boat that sailed past. They looked at it. Oh, nice boat. And it's gone. Duke's 9 today as well. Squatchy J. Is it your boy's birthday today? What's his name? I need more Bitcoin, waiting for a price to pull back, not going to FOMO. Well, let's take a look at where prices can go. So one thing that you got to keep in the back of your mind is the extreme greed, right? So do I have it up here? Oh, look at that. Let's get rid of these fire. God damn it, with this fire all the time. Let's go down here. Max. Extreme greed. So if you see how long we spend here, we're basically, let's call it, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish above, you know, extreme greed. We're 7 episodes in. Most of them come at extreme tops, and they only last. So, like, I think this is about 70 days. This big one. This is 2021 peak, and then the drop off, and then the peak again. It was about 71 days. We're currently, I think, in about 35, maybe 40 max. Oh no, it's not Duke's birthday. I thought it was Squatchy J. His boys, Duke. Stars in his 9. Okay. Well, maybe we'll get Duke to sing him happy birthday if Duke comes here. He's a little tied up right now, but we'll see. So anyway, this was the longest, and it was about 70 days, right? So if we were to, but generally that's an anomaly. That's 1 out of these 7 or 8 that was that long. Usually they're about 20 to 40 days. So here we are at 40 days, or let's call it 35 or something like that. I don't know what the exact number. Doesn't really matter. But the long and the short of it is that, you know, after these periods of extreme fear, or extreme greed, sorry, we have a price pullback and we reset the market, right? So let's see where that a possible reset will go. We'll go over on the ding dong here. We'll close her up. So would this take us into neutral, or this is the 61.8% fib at 97. So it would be under 100K, right? You can imagine as soon as we're under 100K, and I think we probably will have like some sort of event where we maybe throw a 30-year-old drunken wick dancing, crying girl underneath 100K. And you can imagine that everything would, like, you would hear now. I'd argue now that the sentiment is rather low amongst the insiders, you know, like the community, you guys and myself. It's like as soon as it's not all-time high, which is like for 1 second, boom, all-time high, then it comes down. As soon as it's not continuing up, it's like sentiment goes to shit, right? So we're at the 61.8% fib at 97. That would be maybe, I think, a best case scenario for a pullback and a reset, because we, you know, can you call this wick here? Like, this was a volatile day. This is the 15K candle. We wicked down to 89K. That's pretty crazy to think, because that was December 5th. So within this month, early December, we were down under 90. Now you can imagine if we were to, that which once wicked will get candlesticked. If we were to do that and candlestick this wick down to 89, now that would be an unbelievable reset. But this is where it would shake out all the people that bought at 100, right? So all the newbies, the real newbies, like when people say, what is it? Long-term holders are 6 months. Like, no. Long-term holders are like minimum bear. You have to be in the bear market. If you just got here 6 months ago, you're not a long-term holder. You're still a lettuce hand noob of sorts. All the power to you, but you got to survive a bear market to really understand anything that's going on, the real pain that can occur in, Crypto Billy Duke isn't here yet. So yeah, if we were to, because listen, we can't stay in extreme greed for that long. Now, the longest we have stayed was back here, of course, 2021. That was the first rip up, right? That was, I think, 75 days. It's hard to, I spread it out earlier. I should have screen saved it, but I was busy making that Michael Saylor lampoon. So 75. So could we stay here? This is what I think would play out perfectly. We stay here for an extreme greed over until Christmas, right? We get that little bit of a Santa rally that, let's say this is the 4-hour chart. It takes us back up to all-time highs. Let's say we put in about 112 over the holidays. I mean, most people were saying, we're going to hit 100K by the end of the year. We've already done it. So we got to go to another one, 112, let's say. We get 112, and then we have a capitulation event, because we really haven't had one. Like we've had 15% drawdowns. Oh, big deal. To the newbies, we usually get 30% min pullbacks. So let's take 112. Oh, damn it. Let's make this smaller. It'll go over on the ding dong. Let's go 112. Hey, buddy. And let's do 30%. Boom, 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 boom. Would take us to 77K. Wow. 77K on a 30% from what would be 112 all-time high and then before. So this would reset the extreme fear. We'd probably go to neutral or something. And then, January is typically not that great. It's everyone's in the Hamptons enjoying their adrenochrome over the holidays, and they don't really get back to work until the second or third week when the adrenochrome wears off, and they got to start earning more money too. That adrenochrome's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. And then we go back into the rest of the bull market. Maybe kicked off by Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Maybe that kicks off. There's a couple of day ones that occur, and boom, we're off to the running. But if we don't see that capitulation event, we will be running in extreme greed for longer than we've ever done. And it's quite possible that can happen. I mean, we could set a new record for extreme greed, but it would make more sense to exhaust the market and reset it. As much as, listen, nobody likes the price going down, right? But we all know that the market has to cool off, and we have to always come back to a place where the buyers and the sellers are, kind of both exhausted, and we capitulate then we consolidate for a while, then we blast off again, right? That's how I think it may play out. Now, could we just go to the moon for the, last part about this. If we don't have a capitulation event and we hit January 20th and we continue to go up, that not only will that be the longest fear and greed or extreme fear we've ever been in, it would set a record. We would be in extreme greed for probably 4 to 5 months. It's pretty crazy to be in extreme greed for 4 or 5 months. Now, Duke, what do you want to? We've been working on Bohemian Rhapsody. Do you want to see how far you can get on that? Okay. We've only started yesterday, so I'll move over here. There we go.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? God in a land, say no escape from reality. From reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and seize. I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy, 'cause I'm easy come, easy go, little heart. he's dead. Mama, life has just begun. Now I'm gonna throw it all away. Mama, Mama, I don't wanna die. Guess sometimes we're sad, never been born at all, at all. Carry on, carry on. There's nothing really matters.
Wow. Unbelievable, Duke. That's such a hard song that your little fingy can remember that. You have... Perfect.
Make sure you like and subscribe.